Story 1. You have to create your own magic. If you don't engage in the special activities that bring you joy occasionally, you will experience burnout. Story 2. There is no one coming around to tell you that you are doing a good job. You have to learn to validate yourself or risk constantly feeling inadequate. Story 3. I know my mom always complained about figuring out dinner every day, but I never thought it was a big deal. Now that I have to figure out dinner daily, I realize I should have been more prepared. Story 4. You may feel lost at times and have no idea what you are doing. Not everything magically falls into place because of age. Much learning occurs through trial and error, and that is perfectly fine, as every adult continues to learn and find their way. This process never stops. Story 5. Cheese is very expensive. Preparing meals every day. Always washing clothes. The counter is always dirty. Where did all my friends go? I have many aches and pains. Story 6. Nobody knows what they are doing. Everyone is improvising as they proceed. There are no established rules. Story 7. One truth about adulthood that nobody prepares you for is how much time and energy you will spend on mundane tasks, such as completing taxes, fixing various items around the house, or simply managing bills. Story 8. You wake up, go to work, return home, and prepare to go to work again. As a child, you yearn to be an adult and enjoy limitless freedom, only to realize that it is all an illusion. You cannot act on a whim. Every action comes with a cost. You cannot simply get up and go somewhere. You have to worry about ongoing bills and responsibilities. Unless you are wealthy, being an adult is not enjoyable. Story 9. How much decisions made early in life can impact you later. It is tough to wake up every day after choosing the wrong career when it is too late to change. Story 10. Summer vacation is no longer exciting, receiving mail is dull, and making friends is difficult. Story 11. That society forces adults into a credit debt scheme. You have to pay extra money to wealthy individuals just to manage basic living expenses. You need credit to rent many places or obtain loans, but you must pay additional money to establish it, without any clear justification. Story 12. It is more cost-effective to buy one quality item that will last a lifetime than to replace it repeatedly. Additionally, disregard fashion trends. Everyone wears what they choose, and no one is concerned about what others think. Story 13. You are ultimately alone in the world. Friends, family, lovers, pets, and hobbies will come and go, but you will live and die on your own. Make the best choices for yourself and accept that there is no right or wrong time to make a change in your life. Just prepare and do it. Story 14. Change happens constantly and is frequently unpredictable. Your favorite coworkers will suddenly leave, your friends or family may die, and unexpected events will occur. Your car may break down, a washing machine could fail, or a water heater might burst. Your pet may get really sick, or you could become ill, or you might lose something important, or someone could steal your identity. Things you never could have anticipated will hit you sideways, and the world will not care. You will have to deal with it on your own. Life is much easier when you are your own friend. Nobody wants you to sit and criticize yourself over your mistakes, but it often feels like a necessary part of making a mistake. Guilt and shame are entirely useless long-term emotions and are only useful in the immediate aftermath. If you are still dwelling on something you did 10 years ago, you absolutely have the ability to forgive yourself, and you should do that. You will feel so much better when you learn how to forgive yourself. Story 15. People around you start disappearing. Some move away and some have children. If you do not have children, you have less in common with them, so they find new friends who are parents. Story 16. The adults you looked up to were often ignorant despite presenting themselves as authorities on everything. It turns out that strong opinions do not equal actual knowledge. Story 17. No one really knows what is going on. It is everyone's first time living this life too. When you are young, you think the adults have it figured out, but that is not the case. We are just faking it as well. We simply have more experience making mistakes. Story 18. Share with the people you love. We often believe there will be more days, but then one day you realize it is not the case. Everything is fleeting. Story 19. The stakes keep getting higher as you get older, and you have less fun. What is up with that? Story 20. Things, both good and bad, are transient and temporary. The good times will not last forever, and neither will the bad. This understanding helped me avoid becoming too hardened by time or tallying my pain, knowing that it will all eventually pass. Story 21. Nobody really cares about you that much. Everyone is wrapped in their own world and is the center of their own universe. You will never be happy if you depend on external validation, because you will not receive it. Story 22. No one really knows what they are doing and are figuring it out as they go along. It is okay to ask for help or guidance. Story 23. Choose a job skill that satisfies and pleases you right after school or college, and your life will be fulfilling. Story 24. Working hard and following the guidelines for adulthood, such as obtaining a degree, working diligently, and being a good person, does not guarantee that everything will work out. Story 25. That adults don't actually know what they are doing, and as an adult, you sometimes look for a more responsible adult. Story 26. People will silently and negatively judge you while completely denying it. As you grow older, you realize that you can be the best apple in the orchard, but some people simply do not like apples, and that is okay. Story 27. When you are a child, you think that adults are intelligent and always know the right thing to do. That could not be further from the truth. Story 28. Some adults still argue like playground bullies. Loud, incorrect, and convinced that confidence equals correctness. Meanwhile, the rest of us are quietly fact-checking, owning our mistakes, and succeeding with logic instead of volume. Story 29. If you want to create a joyful life, you have to find delight in the mundane. Keep challenging your perspectives. Look on the bright side. Stay grateful. Be conscious of your thoughts. Learn to regulate your emotions, and be kind to others even when you are frustrated. Happiness does not just happen. It takes intention. Story 30. Your choices have consequences. Time is fleeting. Be happy with yourself, not with other people's version of you. It's okay to have a breakdown point. Guess what? So does everyone else. Common sense isn't so common. Stress is a temporary feeling, not a way of life. Story 31. Dying old, comfortable, in your bed surrounded by people you love is typically a slow, painful, agonizing death. Dying in a horrible accident is usually either pain-free or only really painful for about an hour. Story 32. That everyone you love most will eventually leave, whether through death or falling out of love. That was a cold truth I wasn't prepared for. Story 33. It costs so much to be an adult. When I was younger, my mom and aunt did a great job of holding everything together that I didn't realize how much they were struggling. They always hid the fact that they had to work incredibly hard to provide for us. So when I became an adult and a parent, I quickly figured out that you have to work hard for everything you want. Most of the time, no one is going to save you. Life is very expensive. Story 34. Your body will eventually start to deteriorate, and you may experience random pain without any real explanation. Furthermore, one day you might stretch and possibly injure your back. Story 35. That I'd never really feel like an adult. I have a husband and 2 kids. I'm a stay-at-home mom with a lot of responsibilities, but I still feel like I need an adult most of the time. My husband feels the same despite his career success and raising kids. It's weird being grown up. Story 36. You can be doing well at your job, but then new management may come in and criticize everything you do, regardless. Story 37. It doesn't actually have to be disappointing, but you will encounter many adults who behave worse than teenagers. Earning your own money comes with a cost, and you need to be financially responsible and not be influenced by consumerism. Story 38. You may appear lost, and your parents and others will offer you a lot of advice, which might seem strange. However, don't feel upset with your parents and loved ones. Your journey toward independence and adulthood is difficult to observe, and people often do not intend to say the wrong thing. Let it go. Story 39. No one warns you that being okay often means functioning through quiet loneliness and choosing meaning over ease, day after day. Story 40. When my children complain about how much school they have, I try to remind them to enjoy the breaks in spring, summer, fall, and winter, because that opportunity passes quickly in the real world. Story 41. When you gain more freedom, you may actually be losing it. When you are in school, you might think that a job will make you free because you earn money. However, when you get a job, you spend most of your life working and lose time to have fun and spend with your family and loved ones. The same happens when you get an apartment, a house, a car, get married, or have children. Story 42. No matter how much I grow up, I will always be viewed as an incompetent child in the eyes of my family. Story 43. Relationships of all kinds will come and go. Friends move, settle down, and drift apart. Most romantic relationships have an expiration date. Jobs come and go. You can show up in the morning and be gone by lunch. The quote by Captain Picard about failure is also true. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not weakness. That is life. Story 44. When you grow up, you will be able to do what you want, when you want, and how you want. You will achieve this, and some people may dislike you for it, simply because you can. Story 45. Every meal you want to eat has to be prepared by you. On the surface, this doesn't sound bad, but when you consider breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you have to think about what to make 3 times a day, every day. You need to ensure you have the ingredients and spend the time to cook, which can be exhausting. Takeout is an option, but it can become expensive over time. Cooking at home is a better choice, but it can occupy a lot of mental space and time. I miss being called for dinner and having the food already ready to eat. If you have someone in your life who cooks meals for you, please appreciate it. Story 46. Making friends and socializing can be very challenging. Socializing is a skill that is learned, and if you didn't learn it as a child, it may feel too late to develop those skills. This can lead to a pattern of spending time alone, engaging in activities like playing video games or watching television, and trying to convince yourself that being introverted means you don't need friends. Story 47. No matter how old you are, you will always encounter challenges for the first time and may feel unsure of what to do. Story 48. Wealthy individuals across generations are not inherently smarter or better than others simply because their ancestors owned slaves, serfs, or hoarded land and resources that contributed to the impoverishment of nations. They do not truly own their education or achievements. Instead, they are often afforded opportunities based on the perform and conform model of behavior instilled in them by their parents. Our media frequently portrays a middle-class lifestyle as the pinnacle of happiness, depicting loving parents and strong child-parent relationships. Middle-class individuals are generally shown as having a basic level of living without excess, free from the pressures of performing and conforming. Wealthy individuals may resent those who exhibit genuine affection. Their early attachments were often formed with paid caregivers, such as nannies or nurses. Later in life, when seeking relationships, they might invest financially in creating intimate connections rather than earning them through genuine effort. Some may enter into marriages that are financially advantageous or seek companionship as if acquiring a valuable asset. They may also leverage science to ensure their children meet certain standards. In a society where almost everything has been monetized, the middle to lower classes can express love, compassion, and respect in ways that do not involve money. This non-transactional appreciation stands in stark contrast to the conditionality of affection purchased by the wealthy, highlighting that when love and esteem become commodified, they often wither once financial support ceases. Story 49. People may dislike you for maintaining your joy and integrity, being attractive, or having freedom from responsibilities like parenthood and child support. You will be dealing with a small percentage of people who can truly stand to be around you. Story 50. This was not the world's responsibility, but how my neurodivergence and introversion would impact me. Cleaning is challenging. Simple tasks feel like 8-step projects. Cannot sort my mail and find files. Family events are overstimulating and difficult. I have had to learn to accept myself long before others are willing to. Story 51. A regular job with a commute will consume most of your life. Save your money, live below your means, and invest in assets. Story 52. It's so nice to decide your bedtime. I struggled with bedtime as a child, and it really stressed me out. Story 53. Friends are drifting apart, not out of hatred, but simply from living life. Then you realize that all your friends have moved away. Story 54. When you are young, you think most older adults are knowledgeable and have everything figured out. It turns out that adults are just as confused as you and do not have much figured out. Story 55. There is no secret. That's the secret. You just stumble into adulthood without any clue. There is never a moment of growing up. You are still your inner child in a world where everyone pretends to be grown up, but everyone feels the same. Story 56. You have many big ideas and things you want to do, along with a bucket list. However, none of this will happen unless you make space for it and invest the time and effort to schedule it and find people to join you. Even if you have a long-term partner, it doesn't always have to be them. Alternatively, you can become comfortable doing it alone. Otherwise, you will wake up, realize you wasted your youth, and may not get to do many of the things you hope to accomplish. Story 57. Growing out of dysfunctional behavioral patterns that defined a false sense of self can feel incredibly lonely. Addressing deep-rooted trauma and its impact on my relationships and friendships has often left me feeling isolated. However, now that I can truly see that I could never return to some of those relationships, I recognize that many have profoundly shifted. I clearly understand the dynamics that were at play and cannot imagine going back to that. It is a lonely experience, but ultimately life-changing in a positive way. Viewing life through this new perspective is liberating and validating, yet I still mourn parts of my life that have been irrevocably changed, even if for the better. Story 58. You can only rely on yourself. Depend on yourself for happiness, fulfillment, and financial stability. It is great to have a companion through life, but ultimately, you are on your own. Story 59. One truth is that you could mature faster than your parents and still not know what to do with your life. Story 60. Everything revolves around money. Whether it is how to get it, keep it, or spend it. Money rules the world. Story 61. There is no order to life. Things do not have predetermined places to go. We are essentially animals with additional features. Story 62. The power of faking it until you make it. Ask any successful entrepreneur, and you will discover that taking a leap and building a parachute on the way down is very common. This approach is based on a lack of fear of failure. Story 63. Many adults function at lower levels than expected. Many struggle with basic tasks and yet live alongside you. Some cannot read simple instructions or follow directions, such as those needed to prepare a recipe or navigate to a location. Story 64. No one will teach you anything for free after you leave the public school system. Pick up a book and figure it out. Make friends with different skills, or be prepared to pay. Story 65. You may find yourself becoming obsessed with trivial things you never expected, such as the various options that come with new dishwashers, or the most cost-effective way to get an oversized piece of furniture delivered to your house for free. Story 66. How lonely it is sometimes, even if you are married with children. The loneliness can still come through. Story 67. You will be an adult for the rest of your life, whether it is long or short. Life changes, both good and bad, but you will not get younger. You will not enter a new phase of adulthood. You will simply be grown up and continue to live your life. Story 68. The people above you can sometimes be just as inexperienced, and you shouldn't respect someone solely because they are older. I was raised in a strict military Catholic family and taught to always respect and obey my elders. I've come to realize that some of my elders are not wise. Story 69. Eventually, you are the adult in the room, and people will be looking to you for answers. You are the subject matter expert at work. Story 70. It's an unpaid second job, and the actual free time is minimal. There's always something that needs to be done. Cleaning, tidying, cooking, grocery shopping, running errands, attending appointments, managing daily tasks, and fixing broken items. Are you tired from work? Too bad. Story 71. Work-life balance is a challenge. Forget sleep. Forget your body. Muscles and bones ache. Get up and repeat if you want to eat and have a roof over your head. Story 72. You are on your own. Even if you have good friends to support you, you still have to make decisions and handle the consequences of your actions by yourself. Story 73. Being tired all the time is difficult. It is not the sleepy kind of tiredness, but an overarching fatigue that makes even sleeping a challenge. Story 74. I knew I could eat ice cream for breakfast, but I was never prepared for the complete freedom of deciding to eat ice cream for breakfast and then just doing it. And then another one because a single ice cream is not enough, of course. And all the money for hobbies. It's amazing what you can do as an adult, and no knowledge could prepare me for the real thing. Story 75. 90% of your waking hours will be spent on someone else. Going to work, attending family functions, and participating in holidays that do not matter to you means that most of your life is dedicated to meeting other people's expectations, checking off their boxes, and ensuring their happiness. Then you are left with 1 to 2 hours at the end of the day, when you are already exhausted, and you might spend that time catching up on laundry or other chores. Most of adulthood just isn't enjoyable or interesting. Story 76. People are going to die. Your friends will die one day, your parents will die one day, and you will also die one day. Story 77. You are not special. Your life will likely not amount to much for anyone beyond a few people. Much of it consists of doing the same things repetitively: cleaning, cooking, eating, and working. Even the activities you enjoy become repetitive. Concerts, golf, holidays, and dinners out. Additionally, you will age. Aging is not just about looking older. It involves losing energy, losing interest, and feeling as if you have experienced everything in your life. While there are many positive aspects, it is not like the movies. It resembles a mostly mundane news story. Story 78. The expenses never stop even after you stop living. You pay to keep a roof over your head. You pay to keep the lights on. You pay to keep the water running. You pay to keep food on your plate. You pay to buy clothes to wear. You pay to maintain the car that you use to get to work so you can earn money. You pay taxes to the government on your earnings. You even pay for death, since cremation and funerals are not free. The only thing you don't pay for is the air you breathe, but I am pretty sure that would not be free if someone could find a way to charge for it. Story 79. How much effort is needed to make adulthood interesting, especially when the days of partying are over? Story 80. Mentorship is needed by everyone in all important aspects of life, including relationships. For those whose parents left them to navigate challenges on their own, particularly young men, the absence of mentorship can increase the emotional burden and make tasks more difficult. Entering intimate relationships with insecurity can be especially challenging. Story 81. Nobody wants to be friends with those who are struggling financially. If you work at a restaurant and your best friend works in a professional setting, eventually you might be replaced by individuals who are more successful. If you are unemployed and your friend is working at a retail store, they may also associate with others who earn more. This pattern is consistent. Even in dating, you need to have savings before you can consider going on a date, even if it is something inexpensive like visiting a restaurant. People often judge you based on your financial status and the car you drive. If you do not have a nice car, do not expect to have many friends. Story 82. I never expected ill health. It crashed down on me in my 20s and has been constantly present ever since. I dislike it. Story 83. You have no control over certain expenses, which can increase arbitrarily and significantly, leaving you with no say in the matter. While you can compare rates for homeowners and auto insurance, the process can be tedious. Other costs, such as electricity, natural gas, water, tolls, and mobile phone services, also add up. Additionally, if your company changes health insurance plans each year, managing copayments can be challenging. Story 84. One day, you realize you've traded your freedom for security. You can plan, but unexpected events occur, and life often comes down to making the best of it. Story 85. The entirety of it is an unwritten and unplanned quantity. Everything you see as adulting is literally just marketing. If you break down most lifestyle choices, family trends, and healthy alternatives to an unhealthy world, it is just you being sold something. It is concerning, and now that it has infiltrated our governments, it is unlikely to go away. Story 86. Other adults avoiding taxes while praying for nationalism and democracy. That's why I don't like famous people. Tax-avoiding individuals. Story 87. The majority of tasks will now fall into the category of, if I don't do it, it won't get done. No one is coming behind you to clean up your mess. Story 88. You can become disabled unexpectedly without a physical accident. I knew about people in wheelchairs and those who had lost limbs. I was aware of individuals who were born with disabilities. However, I didn't realize that health conditions could also lead to disability. I also believed that if someone became disabled, financial assistance would be provided to help them live. Story 89. You are solely responsible for taking care of yourself. No one will come to your home to cook a meal for you when you're feeling down, and no one will fold the laundry. You either pay for food or you go hungry. Story 90. Most of your friends were made through convenience or shared hobbies. Very few will go out of their way to help or check on how you are doing. Story 91. This may sound overly simplified, but this is everyone's first try at life, so no one truly knows what they are doing. Also, hemorrhoids. Story 92. Getting along and resolving conflict is still challenging as an adult. The children who were difficult are now difficult adults. In many cases, you must work directly with those individuals at your job, in the community, or during sports and school events. Additionally, you never know when one of those individuals will resurface. Even if it seems justified to confront them in the moment, your future self might appreciate that you refrained from doing so. Story 93. No one prepared me for how incredible it was. Being younger had its perks, but now I'm dealing with chronic back pain. Some weeks are so busy that I feel like I barely get to sit down, but that's not true for all weeks. The control I have over my life makes all my accomplishments even more rewarding. I volunteer, I cook, and I have been investing and saving money so I don't have to work for the rest of my life. Someday in my 50s, I'll be able to work part-time permanently, unless I face a serious health issue or financial disaster. Even now, I have about 4 to 5 hours a day of free time, and that's hard to beat. Story 94. When your parents pass away, you are truly on your own, left to navigate life. Your parents create your experiences for you. It is both eerie and interesting at the same time. Story 95. Time goes by, and you run out of time to do things. Doors close quickly. Things vanish. Places you love to visit or eat at disappear. Friends pass away. Pets pass away. You lose track of people who were truly important to you. Story 96. It's pretty exhausting. Between the extra stresses and general aging, I feel tired. Financial security isn't guaranteed, and constantly worrying about paying bills while being able to afford food is difficult. My parents hid how poor we were very well when I was a child, and I have immense respect for them. This situation is challenging. Burnout is real, even if most employers do not recognize it as such. Hobbies and pets can be quite expensive. Overall, life is not as easy as it appeared when we were children. Story 97. This is going to be a strange, ordinary situation, but I was not emotionally prepared for the sheer amount of junk mail I receive weekly. I wish it would stop. Story 98. The primary issue is that, as a latchkey kid of the late 1970s and 1980s, the survival skills and self-parenting learned in your teenage years and 20s, which contributed to your success and gave you an edge, begin to hinder you in your late 30s and 40s. Story 99. You need to consider what to eat for every meal, every day for the rest of your life. You must plan how to cook it, when to cook it, and ensure it is nutritious and balanced. You also need to think about where to obtain food and how to afford it. Everything revolves around planning meals. If you have chronic health issues that complicate this process, it can become an obsession. Story 100. You will eventually be responsible for your own care. You have to do the dishes. You have to do the laundry. You have to clean the entire house, apartment, or condo. Unless you have a roommate, no one is going to remind you to do it, and it is too easy to procrastinate until tomorrow. Story 101. It's lonely at times. It's unique dealing with a breakup, but it can be challenging. If you don't drink, it can be hard to meet new people. Story 102. None of us know what we are doing. We learn on the fly. Never bought a house before? You will figure it out when you begin the process. Retirement planning? You will figure it out. Moving? Yes, you will figure it out. If you are fortunate, you had exposure to many adult responsibilities while growing up. Otherwise, you will have to figure it out for yourself. The internet is a great resource for younger individuals. There are not many questions that do not have answers. And just remember, there is more than one way to achieve a goal. There are messy ways and less efficient methods, but the end result is the same. You will discover what works for you, listen to all the advice, and find the best approach for yourself. Do not surround yourself with people who are not open to alternative ways of accomplishing the same task. Story 103. No one is going to break the waves for you. You will ultimately need to weather the storms yourself. But that is okay. Story 104. Real life has different rules than those you were raised with in your family, school, and community. The faster you learn them, the less likely you are to be overwhelmed or sabotaged by the insecurities of others. Story 105. Ambiguity. As a child, you may think adults have it all figured out, but in reality, it can be quite chaotic. We all try to do our best with what we have. Story 106. You are not truly celebrated as a person anymore. Birthdays and Father's Day come and go, but it is not the same as when I was younger. Dinner and cake have become routine, and I feel like I am just going through the motions. I am in my 50s, and the last time someone threw me an actual birthday party with guests was when I turned 30. The next gathering in my honor will probably be my wake. Story 107. The love my family has for me is highly conditional. Despite my best efforts to build a loving and happy family, and despite all my sacrifices, I simply do not matter beyond being a financial source. When I die, I will be quickly forgotten. Story 108. That day, I had to call and schedule my 16-year-old dog's euthanasia after caring for her for 16 years. Story 109. There is no end goal. In school, the goal was always to attend college. In college, the goal is to secure a good job. After obtaining a job, what is the next goal? There isn't one. Just live. Story 110. Time accelerates as you grow older. 10 years pass more quickly in your 50s than when you are a teenager. Story 111. Going to the job every day is mandatory, even if you do not like it. Compliance is voluntary, but failing to comply means facing hunger and the risk of living on the streets. Story 112. Everything needs maintenance. Your body, your house, your relationships, and your mind. You cannot do nothing and expect everything to go right all the time. Story 113. I spent my entire youth attributing a false sense of maturity and wisdom to adults. I realized I was an adult when I understood that half the population possesses the emotional maturity and intellect of children. Story 114. The gym will make you feel like a child again. It will provide a third space to meet new people and reconnect with your body. It is not intimidating or judgmental. It will help you feel authentic again. Story 115. You can become a middle child again or a middle parent. You have to care for your own children and your parents. Story 116. Nobody has it all figured out. Everyone is just doing the best they can, figuring it out as we go along. Success is one part getting started, one part convincing others, one part hard work, and 2 parts luck. Story 117. High school never ends. You still have the same cliques, groups, bullies, and jerks even when you enter the workforce. There is no escaping it. Story 118. How often do you have to clean your kitchen? Get takeout, clean the kitchen. Get a glass of water, clean the kitchen. Want some coffee, clean the kitchen. Want a snack, clean the kitchen. You'll be cleaning this kitchen continuously. Story 119. No one ever truly grows up. Most people are still children emotionally and intellectually. Story 120. I thought at some point I would figure things out, My parents had all the answers. I couldn't wait for the day I knew everything too. I am entering my sixth decade still as confused as ever. Story 121. There have been many times when I think to myself, oh no, I need an adult. But then I look around the room and realize, I am the adult. Story 122. Your parents are not sources of wisdom and knowledge. They are just regular people with biased opinions and worldviews. My dad is a great and kind man, but around 22 or 23 years old, I realized that not only does he not have all the answers, he is actually wrong about many things. Story 123. I am surprised that loss and grief have not been mentioned. The truth of loss and the reality of grief are probably among the most profound experiences we have as humans. This experience does not feel good. It often begins with the thought, I must be in a nightmare. Story 124. You become invisible the older you get. When I was young, I could walk into a pub or a club and start chatting in 10 minutes. As you get older, no one seems to care. Story 125. Most rules can change instantly and often have little significance for anyone except the person who creates them. This individual usually benefits from these rules or prevents others from doing so. Story 126. It is difficult to juggle schedules sometimes between personal and professional commitments. Do you have a doctor appointment, need an oil change, or have to mow the grass? Good luck making it all happen without assistance. Story 127. You are not special. No one cares about you. Start by loving yourself before seeking outside validation. Story 128. It's not always about truth or falsehood. Sometimes, no one truly knows, and that's a reality. You have to forgive because it is not for the person you are forgiving. It is really for you. There is no justice. You were just told that as a child, and it still burns inside, but you have to forgive or it will consume you. Story 129. Having a decent life depends on a mix of factors, including what you cannot control and what you can influence. These factors include being lucky, knowing the right people, treating others with respect, being reliable, and being punctual. Story 130. No one is coming for you. You have to pull yourself together and face whatever life throws at you because now, as an adult, you have no other option. Mental health is important. It is valid and a priority, but you unfortunately do not have the luxury of not being okay. Story 131. 45 to 50 years of working 9 to 5, with 4 weeks off every year. For most of that time, nearly every penny goes toward bills, cars, housing, and children. Story 132. I need to decide what to eat every day for the rest of my life. Mind you, I am trying to be healthy, which eliminates a large number of easily available meals. I try to meal prep every Sunday, and deciding what to make has become increasingly difficult. Story 133. There is no one coming to save you after God throws a rock at your life and shatters what little security you felt. Story 134. Aging is a peculiar experience. You spend every day with yourself, but you don't notice that you've gotten older until the people around you start to look older. Story 135. This world we live in isn't made for everyone, and some people will always have it worse, no matter how much they fight for improvement. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.